Guys, welcome to Thursday Thoughts, DOdaily. It's Des here. Hope you're all well. Hope you're having a great day, making the most of the fantastic weather. Just been out and done a 4-mile walk. Really enjoyed it. The weather's fantastic today. Picking up nicely for the weekend. Got a busy weekend personally, so looking forward to that. It's Kay's birthday, so we're looking forward to celebrating. A couple of friends coming around and spending some time, so stuff to look forward to. So the weather picking up's a really nice thing. Actually planning on getting back out again. Kay's out this evening meeting a friend, so whilst I'm at a bit of a loose end, I plan to go and do some more walking. Can't get enough of it at the minute. Really enjoying it, so really making the most of the weather. Of course, it's Thursday Thoughts, your questions answered. Got a good selection to go at today, some really good questions, a bit of a mixed bag. If you like anything, please do give us a like. Please share the post and subscribe, of course. I'm always looking to sort of develop on what I'm doing. I say every week, Thursday Thoughts it's all about little bits of information, trying to offer a few little nuggets, nothing too sort of technical, nothing too much, just little bits I know, little bits I look into. And like I say, with the questions today, really sort of varying issues to approach, so I'm really looking forward to it. Some running questions, you always get plenty of running questions. I'm always a bit top heavy, so I'm going to answer those a little bit later. But to get things underway, the first question was basically something somebody asked me today at work, nothing related to the YouTube channel, but of course yesterday I mentioned the positive test result for coronavirus for myself, and I was just talking to somebody else, and it became apparent that they'd had it, and they said to me that they'd felt, I was saying yesterday that I felt a little bit strange about it. I didn't quite know how to feel, and they said to me that they felt a little bit invincible, which I found really interesting. I listened to on local radio here in Nottingham. There's a Dr. Jonathan Ball from the microbiology at Nottingham University. He comes on the radio at 7:50 every morning before I leave out for work, and he does about 10 minutes answering questions just like this, people's sort of queries and concerns and things like that. And one of the questions on there was somebody said, obviously with coronavirus building immunity and the fact we're taking all these measures to wash our hands and look after ourselves, everybody's sort of up the game. We all think we're sort of on top of it anyway, but I'm sure we've all upped the game a little bit. Basically, the person asking the question, the concern was, sorry, my phone's kicking off again. The question was, will that sort of lessen the immunity to other illnesses, common flus and such things? And I thought it was just really interesting to sort of pass this on, because it really made me think whilst he was answering. And whilst it might eventually, for a year or two, we've probably built that immunity up over so many years. So like the lady said at work about feeling invincible, we probably will be a bit more sort of invincible for the time being, all the measures we're taking, all the things we're doing. But of course, it's important to keep doing that, because whilst I've tested positive and the lady at work, it doesn't guarantee anything just yet. There's a belief that it might help going forward, and if we're to catch COVID-19 again, it would have even less of an impact. For myself, I didn't really get any symptoms, so it would be even less of an impact, but that's not guaranteed. So for the time being, it's really important to remember to do the right things. And I just wanted to reiterate that, because I thought it was a really interesting take. Obviously, listening to Dr. Ball anyway, I listen to it every day at 7:50. Some really good stuff on there. It lays some of my concerns, answered a lot of questions. He's been on here for 3 months now. He only came on for a morning, but it's one of those things I got really used to listening to and taking advice from. And of course, I encourage people to do the small things, Not long seen a post from a friend who was posting something, some ultra runner had posted about people focusing on the 1% the athletes do, rather than the 99% of hardship they have to endure day in, day out, the small things. And that's what we do here, every day it's about the small steps. I don't want to teach anyone to suck eggs. I don't want to tell people might label me with or hit me with that. We know this. Why do we need reminding? Well, we all need reminding, and that's the point, isn't it? Little things all the time. I need to listen to that for reassurance every morning. Whilst I'm not scared of coronavirus, whilst I wasn't scared of catching it, I'm aware it's there. I'm aware what we need to do, and that's really important. Just to sort of reiterate again. So I thought that was really sort of important just to drop in again. Got a question from Wayne. It was really, really interesting, actually. He read an article about basically his question was, what are your thoughts on being included in mental health in the workplace, in sort of studies and things like that? He read an article which was looking at how companies and leaders look at sort of tackling mental health and in different sort of for people from different backgrounds and different beliefs, and how they kind of throw a blanket over it and deal with it all in one. And how would people feel about that? And like I say, Wayne's question is, what are my thoughts on being included? Well, to be honest, Wayne, the first thing I think about all this, and I've got real strong opinions, to be honest, I'm not going to go into the specifics because I don't know enough. I don't know enough about individual sort of circumstances and people with different beliefs and from different backgrounds. But I really strongly believe that to deal with anything, we need to be as inclusive as possible. Even through Do Running and Do Daily, what I'm trying to be is open and honest and out there and include anybody who wants to be involved. And in the kind of line of work I'm doing in terms of trying to put across activity, trying to put across a message, encouraging people. People quite often ask me, who's your target market? And I absolutely hate that question, because my answer is everybody. I really want to sort of aim at everybody. I don't want to discriminate against people who are rich or poor, or overweight or fast runners. What I'm trying to do here is target everybody. So in response to your question, I'd want to be included in any kind of study, any kind of sort of mental health thing going on. Whether I got it or not, I'd like to make my own mind up, think about what was happening, learn more about the other areas. So I'd like to be included in everything that was going on. If it was my workplace, for example, and they were doing a study on a certain range, I'd really want to be involved, because there's nothing worse than feeling like you've been left out. We've all been in situations in our life where we feel sort of isolated, I guess, and sort of pushed out from a group or a circle. And that's not a place to be. I do the things here, encouraging everyone to take part. Inclusive is one of my buzzwords, along with no obligation. And that's the point. It's just about getting everybody involved. For example, people are always saying to me, when's the running club starting up? And whilst it's not a major issue in terms of these areas in the study, people are saying, when's the running club starting? Or, oh, you could do it with so many, you could do this. I'm not going to do that. And for the simple reason that somebody's going to be left out. If I say the running club's for 12 people and 13 people turn up, for example, then I've already alienated somebody. I've already got to disappoint somebody, or somebody's not got to take part in exactly the same way as everybody else. And that person then is not going to come back. He's not going to feel part of it, and he's going to be affected by it, because I certainly would be affected if I turned up somewhere and I wasn't involved. A little story about when I started running and why I've got a real ambition. Well, why I had the ambition to do my own running club was I went to a running group a couple of years ago when I started running, and whilst they do a great job at kind of developing people and getting people up to speed, when I first went, I was at the back, and I basically ran all the way around at the back, which was absolutely fine. I didn't expect to be anywhere else. A couple of people waited for me in a car park, and then when I got back to the car park, just said, see you next week, which I just thought, I didn't like that, to be honest. I didn't feel part of that group. A couple of people almost, it felt like they was sighing at me for taking too long, being the slowest one there. I stuck at it for a while, and I quickly worked my way up. But I could see people joining and being affected in the way I was initially. And I thought, well, I could just do this on my own. People could just start running on their own. And that's why I did run on my own for a long time. And it really knocked me into it. It's hard getting into groups and being included into things. But it's really important to feel for somebody, the people leading the group, the participants of the group, to make you feel part of it. And that's what I didn't do. And it really knocked me. It sent me back. But then I had this sort of inner determination to do it better, to do it my way. And that's what led to do running and the things I do today. So I hope that answers the question. I really think people need to be a lot more inclusive. And I'm talking about all the way to the top. Governments, they answer questions and they're not including certain groups, they're not including both sides to every story, and until you make people, whether it's incentivizing both sides, if you incentivize one party and not another, straight away you're going to alienate people and upset people. So I just think inclusivity is the biggest factor in all this, in bringing people together. And until people realize that there's always going to be an issue. And in terms of mental health, like I say, if you feel you're left out, the group that feels they're left out, the individual that feels they're left out, they're just going to suffer. They're going to feel hard done by, and that's not a nice feeling to have. We all sort of, I guess at times we've all felt really upset, and then we start making irrational decisions and doing the wrong thing to try and prove ourselves, and that's not a place where we need to be. So I think it's really important to be as inclusive as possible. Like I say, I hope that covers that question. Quite a lot there, so but I enjoyed that. And what I'll do is pop up the article in the comments for everybody to look at, because it was a really interesting piece. I mentioned we've got some running questions, and hopefully I can be a little bit more concise for these and a little bit more quick fire, but get enough information across. Like I say, it's just about getting a few bits of information across to people. So Davna asked, she watched the video on Monday. She saw me talking to Ellen Hood from Parkrun UK. Obviously, it's a worldwide phenomenon, Parkrun, and it's absolutely brilliant. To start that conversation, Helen introduced Not Parkrun, which is basically an idea to get people getting out there, timing their own 5Ks and adding themselves to the Parkrun results, and it keeps a record and a log. It's of course all free because it's in your own time, but it's a nice way of keeping track of what you're doing, using it to push yourself if that's what you really want, just using it to get out the door in the first place. You can log more than one a week. There's a lot more. If you need more information on what Not Parkrun is, look back to Monday. But of course, I've got the full conversation with Ellen this Sunday on the Sunday Socials, so do check that out. Really, really some good stuff in there, some really interesting stuff. But what Davna asked in particular is registering. How does she register for it? Again, I'm going to pop something up. There's a frequently asked questions link to the website, but basically, I'm not sure whether Davna is a member of Parkrun or not already, or registered already. Sorry. If you're registered already, you don't need to do anything. The emails they send you week on week. You just click on one of the links. There's a link to Not a Parkrun. It brings up your barcode. You type your time in and then save it, and it's stored. So it's as simple as that. If you are a member, if you're not a member, it's just a case of registering for Parkrun. From memory, I've been registered for a good few years now. There's not that many details to put in. It asks for your emergency details and things like that. Of course, a bit of health and safety there, but it's not a long drawn out process. And again, you'll start getting the emails, and it's just about clicking through the link to register. It really is as simple as that. So hopefully you can join in, Davna. I look forward to looking out for that. I'm really enjoying it. I've mentioned it a couple of times this week already. Helen and Chris asked a question. Well, they was asking if I'd mentioned sort of volunteering and parkrun tourism. And whilst I'd love to sort of talk about parkrun in depth, because I absolutely love it, I could do a whole week's worth of DOdaily on parkrun. Helen really tells some great stories and mentions these things on the full interview I did with her this week. So again, check out that Sunday social. Not just because I don't want to answer the question, but Helen's the pro. Helen is parkrun through and through, and she knows it inside out. And whilst I love what I do, and I've really enjoyed volunteering and got so much from that and tourism, it's really worth giving it a listen again and seeing what she has to say. It's got some great stories about tourism and making friends. So, like I said, check that out. Still on the running theme, Kay's always saying to me, where do you find all these places to run? Why can't I find different routes and different things to do? And I don't know what the answer is. So it's all I do. I do know what the answer is. Basically, I'll go out there and I'm not worried about which way I turn. We all get a little bit sort of bored of the same routes. I tend to use one route a week to try and test myself when I'm fit and when I'm running well. I'll try and find one route, whether it's 5k or 5 miles or 10k, just to try and push myself that little bit and just to test myself over the same distance. But the rest of the time I'll go off exploring. I'm not bothered about taking a wrong turn. If we end up sort of running further than we plan, we can always stop and walk, or we could just push on that little bit further. I think it's really important to explore and find different things and go different ways, just to mix things up. If we do the same route quite often, we get we kind of know how far we've gone. If you listen to the same playlist, you know where you are en route, and it can get a bit sort of. It can be a bit demotivating. It's just a case of doing whatever you can. Two little things that you can do through Strava, and again, Strava's fantastic for mapping your routes, and we all love to look back on a recording app, whether it's Strava or Nike or Map My Run or any of the others out there. Most of the people I know tend to use Strava, and they've made a lot of changes recently. And one of the better changes, there's two actually. The first one, which gives peace of mind more than anything. Kay asked the question. Obviously, Kay's a female, and sometimes it might be a case that females might feel a little bit more vulnerable out there, sort of running about in different places where there's less runners, and if it's dark, they might look for that extra bit of security. And what I can say is, and Kay's just set this up on her phone, there's such thing as Strava Beacon. So basically you can set it up so somebody can actually see where you are at all times. So when Kay gets out early on a Wednesday morning, I get a text message, which generally wakes me up, but then I can watch where she is, make sure she's okay. And again, it just gives us both peace of mind, knowing that if anything does go wrong, I'll know where she is and what she's doing and how to get there, sorry. Also, a new feature on Strava, since they've updated quite a lot of things recently, is there's a feature on there where you can put in how far you want your activity to be, and they'll tie that in with their own heat maps, which basically tells you familiar routes where people have run in your area, which I think is really interesting because again, if you're not a confident runner and you want to run where there's more people, whilst it's not guaranteed that people are going to be there when you go, generally more busy routes, might be more where we live in particular. We've got the river and people tend to run around that, so, and there might be nicer routes as well because people tend to use them. So it just might offer that little peace of mind just to help. And just get you running somewhere different, without having to think too much about it. I think sometimes people start planning routes and looking at things and stressing about it. I know a lot of people who before an event will go and run a route, and to me that's a bit bizarre. I don't get it. I don't understand that. It's I love the surprise on the day, turning the corner and not knowing what's coming around it. I really love that feeling and really enjoy being able to do that. So yeah, there's just a couple of things there, there's a couple of things to do, like I say, just don't be afraid to explore light nights when the sun's out. A lot of people are about at the moment. It's really worth just getting out there and having a look around. I use my walks as well. I use walks to find different routes, to look at different things, to pop my head around different corners and down different paths. And again, sometimes you're just like, oh, ping, that's where I come out, and you might not have pieced the two together. So it's just little ways of finding different things. It really does help as well. Kay asked the question because I know personally she gets a little bit bored of running the same routes, and she's on it right now. She's really, really flying. So the last thing we want is for her to get bogged down with that, and sort of start worrying about things that aren't really important in the grand scheme of things, when there's things you can actually do there's things you can put in place to almost suggest it for you. And sometimes that's the best way. And that's the questions to get today, guys. I've got one last thing to go. I know I was asking last week, I was saying last week I had a few quirky questions, which I like to throw back at you guys, just to get some comments on there, let me know. I'll read them back out next week. You can comment at any point. In previous weeks, we've done what's the weirdest, strangest thing you've ever seen. I mentioned people in sort of fancy dress and things like that. Someone asked what event I'd do at the Olympics. Thanks to Dawn today on the Part 1 theme. I thought I'd sort of pop this one in. Obviously, this week we've been talking a lot about that. And of course, we've got the Sunday Social, another reminder. Dawn basically asked what my favourite Part 1 was. And it is something I talked to Ellen about, so definitely look out for hers. But my favourite Part 1 is my home Part 1 at Colic. Even before I started Part 1, I absolutely love Colic Park. I really enjoyed it there. It's kind of without being too gushy, it's a happy place, I guess. I enjoy going there and walking around, and the tranquility and the peace and the water. And just being in the trees, it's absolutely amazing. And then to go and find Part 1 within that, it's always been a really sort of special place. And then I moved even closer to it, so it's absolutely fantastic. It does get a little bit boggy in the winter, but that's part of the appeal as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So Colic's mine, but not just being too boring and mentioning my own Part 1. Done a couple in different countries, and one of my favourite ones I ever did was in Milan. It just epitomised Part 1 really, and how it's grown around the world, and how it doesn't matter whether there's 13 or 1300. It was fantastic. I actually went a couple of years ago, and it was Milano Nord, which is north of Milan, and it absolutely threw it down. It was biblical. It was shocking. But the numbers, the people there just made it. There was only 36. There was actually 26 from the UK. So that just, touching on the tourism thing, that just shows how much there's a thirst for it. And when we go on our holidays and when we go around the world, people are still doing it. It was only starting to sort of develop in Italy at that point. But what a fantastic thing, introducing that to different countries. You go and spend your holiday doing this thing, what sets us all up so fantastically well at the weekend, and what so many of us get so much from. So other than Colic, I'll probably say Milan. Absolutely fantastic city as well. And I did a couple of bucket list things. I went to see the San Siro Stadium where AC Milan played. I've always had a soft spot for them. So it's all these little things that create the positivity. on that trip alone, even though it was 2 years ago, I went to see the stadium, I did a park run, I did an half marathon on the Sunday, and it's all these things that just add to experience. And it's that point, isn't it, about taking those small steps, planning things within things. You know, this week we've done fantastically well again with the solidarity session and the Wednesday workout yesterday. Wasn't a tough challenge yesterday, probably one of the easiest. You know, all I asked was for people to get out every hour, a different person. But over the day, 15 of us got out, 15 different activities, 15 different people doing 15 activities of varying things. And it was just really enjoyable, lots of encouragement, lots of support. And the beauty of it is anybody can get involved. So like I say, if you like what I've said, quite a long one again today, the questions tend to be so, but it's worth just passing on some of that information, I feel. If you like any of it, give it a like, get involved. International Friendship Day today. Somebody pointed out to me earlier, and I know 1 or 2 people are starting to look in. The beauty of this is we can do it wherever we are. So join us, guys. I'll be back in the morning, of course, for Wake Up to Walk. I'll be somewhere different. Hopefully this weather sort of maintains itself. It's supposed to be honest. Tomorrow is supposed to be absolutely amazing, 30 degrees. So really looking forward to that. Looking forward to a busy weekend. Of course, I'll set the Saturday Selfie Challenge. I'll be somewhere new. I'll be just doing it. Cheers, guys.